God, why won't you be able to stop all the wars?
Because we are all connected. I am not separate from you. We are all one. And so you are individualized aspects of me. You choose what steps you take here on earth. You came to earth to be a creator, to be a mini creator. You came to earth to experience glory. Or in some cases, you came to earth to experience lack. But your choice is yours to shift from lack to glory. And so it is up to you as to what you want to experience, because you are me and I am you.
Wow, guys, I just wrapped up an amazing episode with Genevieve Taeger, who is the author of Heal and Awaken the Goddess Within. She can channel goddesses, ascended masters, archangels, and what we did today. We had a fascinating conversation, by the way. We spoke about how she started channeling. The thing is, she moved from a corporate job and is completely doing channeling and healing work. So, how did she make the transition from that to this? And the best part, the highlight of the episode today, is that she channeled the divine creator. Yes. And I got to ask the divine creator questions such as, how can we become more like God? What happened before the Big Bang Theory? Are we all going to go back to the Big Bang or the time before the Big Bang happened? How can I overcome greed and jealousy? How can I forgive myself? And the answers that came through, obviously profound, to the point, energetic, powerful. I could feel a sort of vibration in my third eye chakra, and I could feel the energy. I had to just take it in, and I knew that that was our divine creator. The answers that came through were so fascinating. I cannot wait for you guys to listen to that. So without any further ado, let's dive right in.
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be here.
So Genevieve, tell us, before all of these things started, right? Were you always psychic? When did this whole thing open up for you?
I have to laugh when you said, were you always psychic?
Oh no.
Because I remember years back, I went to some Akashic record reader and she said, you need to tell me that you're psychic. And I thought, that's a bunch of nonsense. You know, I was totally against all of that. I thought it was stupid.
Oh,
And
really?
I did. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm psychic. And I didn't believe it. And so she said, you need to say it again. And she said, you need to say it again. You need to say it again, and so forth. So, but if I can kind of look back on my life, though, just as a little kid, I was always intuitive, empathic, and I always was connected to knowing who I was, meaning that I was one with the divine. So there was this knowing inside of me. And I thought that everyone was like that. So I was kind of naive growing up. Yeah. And so, but the psychic quote abilities developed in my 30s.
I had heard you speak about your parents in one of the podcasts, and it sounded like they were already pretty spiritual. So, did they believe in psychic abilities?
They didn't talk about psychic abilities. I mean, they learned from some guy who came from India to the States. And so he taught everyone how to just go within, to meditate, to experience the light, to experience, I don't know if he used the word God, but just inner peace. And so my parents were able to unite with the divine, to experience that. And so they're very simplistic, that everything is just the answers are within. They weren't really into this concept of, psychicness and all that kind of stuff. They're just into, let's just tap within and experience that sense of inner peace and love and the power of the divine.
Did they know that there's something called a higher self or channeling? Did they know these terminologies?
I think that they did. I think that because sometimes they were curious about that kind of avenue, but they didn't really delve into it.
Interesting. So, at what point did you actively? So, you said you met with this person who said that you've got to say, I'm psychic. Did you actively then start pursuing it because you started affirming this to yourself?
Well, what happened was I went to a medium just before that. And because someone had passed away at work. So I was just curious about that. And actually, I was at the time, I was kind of skeptical about all of that too. So I went there and my brother showed up. My brother had passed away and I completely forgot, didn't even think to connect with him. And he showed up. And then he was showing these like healing hands. He was doing this. And then she saw all these healing beings coming into the room. And she said, I've never seen so many healing beings ever before. And there's something here for you. You should be looking into that. And so that's when I started looking into it.
So from there, then did you know where to look into? Like, did you know I have to go to so and so teacher, or what was your spiritual fitness like? Were you meditating?
So I ended up getting a whole bunch of books and I went to a psychic fair because that woman that said I'm psychic, she said you need to go to a psychic fair.
Oh,
And
I didn't know
so
such things existed. That's so cool. This is how long
yeah,
back?
this was in 2008.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we still
Yeah.
have such kind of psychic fairs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We have
Interesting.
them like here, it might be like quarterly or, maybe once every 6 months, basically in different cities. A bunch of people have tables
Hmm.
and you go in there and you can pick which psychic you want to have a reading with for half an
Wow.
hour.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so cool. If such a thing
Yeah.
was happening here in the Middle East, they would probably put them all in jail. I don't think we're that open to it. But that's something that I wish happened because I see all of the people here there talking about the what is it? The expo that's happening in Sedona and all of these things. And I wish I could go, but then, I don't have a visa, so it's not like I can go there. And it's so far. So it's like the whole reason why the podcast started is so that I could get all of you here and we could have such things here. Why? And that's something that even I'm trying to understand. Why is it that it's all happening in that part of the world? And why isn't it happening here? Or maybe it's happening here, but we are not talking about it. Probably people are afraid to talk about it. Uh, do you have any inputs on that?
I mean, the word I heard when you said that about the Middle East, I heard the word underground. So that it is happening underground. It's kind of like in Japan. So Isui was the teacher of Reiki way back, one of the teachers of Reiki. And there was Reiki before him as well. But then during the war, everyone went underground because they were no longer allowed to be spiritual and, no religions, no spirituality, this kind of stuff. And so they hid everything and they went underground for a long time. And this is why people didn't know the history of Reiki for so long until the internet grew and we were able to find out some more history. But I think that that's what's happening now in the Middle East is that underground because it's natural that people are spiritual. And as people are just connecting, it doesn't even matter what religion you are. You can connect, you can have experiences, and they might not know what that all means, these experiences, but they're sharing it with other people because they feel like they can't really share that out openly for fear of being chastised, judged, those kinds of things.
Yeah, especially when you're working in a company or in these multinational companies or something, and you talk about these spiritual things, they would probably not take you seriously at work. So you don't really talk about it. And predominantly, people over here are more religious. But I think even the feeling of religiousness is also going down. It's like not so many people go to churches anymore. I don't know about the mosques, but not so many people go to churches anymore. It's reduced. Everybody is into law of attraction and law of manifestation and these kind of things, but we don't know then where to go forward with that. Fine, we know how to attract these kind of things. I think people are getting some form of success as well. You see on social media those kind of things happening, but then they don't know how to take it the next step forward. And that was like the next question: how can we start accessing those things? Or so this probably ties back to the first question, which is how did you keep spiritually fit during that time of you trying to understand and open up your abilities?
Yeah, so what I did was I ended up journaling. So I would end up, I heard of this thing called automatic writing. I didn't know what the heck that was. I thought, like, automatic writing sounds kind of deceiving because it sounds like something is taking over your hand and you're going to write like crazy some weird stuff and you have no control over your hand. But that's not what that is. It means just surrendering to the information that you are tapped into and just write it without controlling yourself and thinking, oh, maybe I'm making it up. Just feel free, be a free spirit. And everyone has that ability. The key thing that I say to people is that we are all intuitive. We all have this connection to the divine. We were created this way. And we all have the ability to tap into the divine mind, which is the knowledge of the Almighty. So we just need to recognize how we receive this information. But the best way that people can receive this information is actually through our thoughts. It's the easiest way. But the key thing is to understand where you pay your attention. And if you can focus your attention in a field of energy where it's a much higher frequency, which is the 30 centimeters above the head.
Hey guys, if you've been enjoying this video so far, please make sure to support this channel. You can either subscribe to the channel, leave a like or a comment, or even share it with your family and friends. Apparently, it helps with the algorithm and I have no idea how that works. Also, I'm sending out weekly love notes where I'm sharing with you my own personal spirituality journey, and also will keep you posted on the upcoming community events that we have. We have a lot lined up for you. We've got group channeling events, Akashic record reading events, and a lot of such community events that I think you're going to absolutely love. All you have to do is go to www.celestevolve.com/love notes. Now let's get back to the video.
The soul star chakra. Yeah. So if you have your energy, your focus in this field of energy, where your head is, it's a much lower frequency, and it's where you could tap into thought forms and mind-based thoughts and belief systems that aren't true. But when you can place your attention up there and pay attention to the thoughts that occur in your head, you'd be amazed at the portals that open for you, the chakras that open. Like, people automatically, when they try that, they start to feel tingling on their head and they're wondering, oh, what's that? That's your chakras are opening up like nuts, and there's a vessel coming down because your attention is up there. And so if people could practice just 10 minutes a day, as an example, where they can write down a question, and be as specific as possible. Because if you just ask a general question, the divine is always going to give you a very blissful general answer. And so you're going to think you're making it up. But if you can ask something specific, then you'll eventually prove to yourself that you couldn't have made that up, because you wouldn't have thought of that specific type of answer. And the more you do it, let's just say if you do it 10 minutes each day, what happens is you raise your vibrational frequency to be able to become more intuitive. And receiving this information will eventually become a normal practice where you don't have to just spend 10 minutes. You can eventually move into being in that present moment awareness every now moment at a time.
One of the doubts that people have is, fine, I'm writing it, but nothing profound comes while you're doing automatic writing. Like the way when you channel, you get, the message is really big and it's very high energy. But when we channel, it's just like normal things. It just seems like, very, doesn't seem profound enough to think that I am actually doing some form of connecting with my higher self. At that point in time, how can we stay motivated to keep going and keep doing it?
It's the same thing as, how would you stay motivated if you want to gain a whole bunch of muscle and you go to the gym and you try, and it's impossible to even lift a weight at that time, otherwise you're going to cause injury. So what is it in you that can be motivated to do it? There's got to be the desire. Without the desire, it's futile. It won't work. So there has to be that strong thirst for it. And so for me, there was a strong thirst to always connect to the divine and develop. I was excited about it. I was passionate about it. And I just knew it would take time. I mean, I remember that concept. Like, I just wish my third eye would open.
Oh,
and
me too. I keep saying that. I'm like, oh, please,
how
someone
many
just
times,
open it.
Yeah, I hear people say that all the time. And so they do have that doubt. Well, why can't I just get it like you can, Genevieve? Well, I didn't get it like that when I started out. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing with lifting weight. But know that over time you will.
So when you said you kept practicing automatic writing, how long did you practice that for? Then from there, when did the next stage happen? Were there these moments where, like, the first time you heard a voice, the first time you saw a vision? What was that like?
You're asking me to remember a while back. I'm trying. Um, yeah, that it's kind of a blur in terms of what it was like, but I do remember having doubts, you know, like Kuan Yin was the first one I was writing about, and I thought I was making completely up. I thought Kuan Yin was just some made up name, and um, but I was able to prove to myself that she was real by looking her up, and so I had that huge epiphany in that moment and thinking, oh my goodness, wow, like I can do this. This is amazing. The in terms of the visual, that didn't happen for years, like years. And um, so it would be something where it would be just a quick, something quick visual, like a millisecond visual. And so I had to trust that little millisecond information that I would get. And often for me, visuals are in terms of color, like an aura. And then I would ask, what does that represent? And then I might get a sense of what that might represent, like a knowing inside of myself. So basically, I learned to tap into not just the visual, not just the auditory, but to also tap into the knowing and the feeling sensations that I would get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So when you go on podcasts, right? When you go on podcasts, when you go on the channels and speak to people, how does it feel like when you're speaking to them? Do you, because Esther Hicks, when she goes on these other places and she does these interviews, she keeps saying that I don't like talking. I just want to already start channeling because I'm not able to keep up the conversation. For you, what does it feel like? Does it excite you to start channeling, or do you like talking to people about it? How does it feel doing these kind of events in your life?
It actually it's kind of funny. It doesn't excite me to channel. It's
Oh,
for me, yeah, it excites me to empower others to do that themselves or to connect to their higher selves themselves. Because I think a big mistake that people make when they go to channelers or readers or all that is that they're just hoping someone will change their life, and then they have that message and they think their life will be great, but then it won't be because they need to take action and take those steps. And so what they do is they get another reader and another channel and they keep doing it.
yeah, that is very
Right.
true. Yeah, we keep
Yeah.
that does happen, and then it's like, okay, maybe I guess what happens is, right, when you hear someone saying that you're going to be everything's going to work out for you, then you get that sort of vibration where someone's telling that things are going to work out for you when you're surrounded by everyone going through problems, and then you like that vibration. And then because you don't practice this sort of a thing, you keep spending money on more and more channelers. So when you say you empower people to do it, that is a big deal, because every day, so I started to try not, I don't know what this is, but I also try to do automatic writing. And in one of the books by Sarah Landon, she talks about how just writing is not enough. After writing it, you have to read it out loud, record it, and then listen back to it. When I started doing that, that's when I started realizing, okay, maybe I'm on to something. Till then, I would just write it, whatever, and then I would move on. So when you start listening it back to yourself, it's like every day you're getting that same vibration that you get from channelers, where they say that things are going to be good for you. Just be patient. So it's beautiful to get those that feeling of tapping into that higher self. When people say that they are channeling, so one person who had come on my podcast, he says that he was ex-Satanist, and he said that one of the things that happens is that when you speak to channelers, or people like that, they say they're channeling the Council of Light, or they're channeling archangels, they're channeling all that. But then apparently demons can deceive themselves and make themselves look like the other, like all of these angels. They look bright and colorful and magical and all that, but it's actually not them. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll take away the word demon in this respect. So if you can think of about just your mind itself, your mind, how many positive thoughts and expansive thoughts do we have in a day in comparison to the other types of thoughts that we have in a day? And when we have the thoughts that are limiting, which are pretty much the majority of most people's thoughts, um, that's a particular frequency range. It's much lower frequency range, and it is not divine truth. And so when you don't have divine truth coming through your system, your meridians are not able to allow a floodgate of energy through. And so you're in this frequency range. And if you focus on this particular frequency range here in this area of your head, what you can do is you can tap into thought forms rather than divine benevolent beings. So the thought forms would be things like um, Archangel Michael is like this, Archangel Michael looks like this, Archangel Michael's the protector, the fierce one. Um, Watch out for yourself because other people are going to attack you. And, kind of like that human made concept. Protect yourself, and some bad people will come at you, and just things that are limiting thoughts. Those limiting thoughts are thought forms. So when we think thoughts, they're actually created in the ethers, those thoughts, as forms. And when we our state of being, what we tap into is based on what frequency range we are kind of resonating to. So if our body and our mind has been so focused on negative thoughts, limiting thoughts, that kind of stuff, even though we do have some positive thoughts, but if that primary aim is in that frequency range, then when we go within and try to receive information, and again, if our attention is in this field inside of our head, when you think and you're thinking about what's 10 plus 10 minus 16, and you're going in here in this area, then you're in that frequency range where you're tapping into lost souls, negative thought forms, and so forth. And so when you think you're tapping into Archangel Michael or Saint Germain or these things, you're not. It is true that you're not, but that's not demonic. That's just that everything is existing beyond just human form, including thoughts. Esther Hicks one time said in a great thing when she was channeling Abraham, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what Steven Spielberg has created in thought forms."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that when people are channeling or getting these kind of things, they're basically tapping into their own thoughts. It's basically their own thoughts that they're channeling in, and then they are thinking that it's probably someone from the higher realm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not just your own thoughts. You can also tap into just thoughts in that frequency range. So because all our thoughts are being projected into the etheric world, good and bad. And and the thing that I do, which I find really helpful, is I get into that state, I connect to the divine mind, I go into the portal of the sacred heart with the intention in the divine mind. Immediately I raise my frequency by doing that, because how you think invites that energy field. And then what I do is I may be asking myself a question, or I may be just ready to channel. And in that state, I say, okay, who is it that wants to be here? And I have a neutral state, and I'm just waiting to receive this information. And so often what happens is whoever comes it can end up being a being that I've never channeled before, never heard of before, and have to figure that out in that moment. So we have, and then in that moment, I'm tapping into pure information, because it's very accurate, and it's also divine truth. So as soon as we say things like you should do this and shouldn't do this, you should protect yourself, and human made concepts, that's not true. You're not connecting into divine truth. Would God say that? And if the answer is no, then it's not divine truth.
That makes sense. Let's talk about your book, Heal and Awaken the Goddess Within. How did you start writing this? What was the experience like writing it? It's such a phenomenal book. After you talk about it, I'll tell you something about it.
Thank you. Yeah. What happened was um, I was just doing some automatic writing, and I was asking a question about something a year from now. And all of a sudden, Goddess Pedama came through, and I had no idea who she was, never heard of her before. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Are you from India originally, or
Oh,
background?
yes, I am from India, but I'm a Christian from India who was
Okay.
born and raised in Dubai. So,
Okay. So she came from the southern,
hmm.
well, closer to southern area.
So I'm from the
They
southern
built
area too.
they built a temple for her in a
Are
small
you saying
village.
Goddess Padma?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So how do you say it? Because it's
I am not sure if it's
not
Goddess,
Padma.
not
No, not
Padma,
Padma. No, not Padma. It's Peddama.
Padma. Hmm. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure. So if I pronounce
Yeah.
it something wrong, do you get Goddess Padma saying, no, she's saying it wrong? Like, does she come through? Whenever we talk about goddesses, do they come through and correct you?
So they sometimes pronounce things to me in a way so that I can phonetically spell it, and it might not be the correct pronunciation. When she came through, she said Padama, and then there was an Indian client of mine
Hmm.
who is from India and lived her life there. She said it's Padama. So I
Okay.
said, "Oh, okay, all right." So anyway, she came through and she said, "You need to write your book now." And she said, "Hush, write now." So what I did was every Monday morning, and then Mary Magdalene, I knew Mary Magdalene was coming through strongly about passion and purpose. And so I said, okay, what am I to write? So every Monday morning, 9 a.m., I wrote each chapter, and it took 3 hours. So I said, okay, what am I to write? And then I would start writing. And I'm writing the topic, and I'm just channeling. So I'm doing automatic writing. Every word that I sense, I write. And some words I didn't even know what they meant. And I just thought I'll look it up later. And actually, when I edited the book, I would use Grammarly, and it would suggest to dumb down the words a bit. So I
Okay.
actually did that. I dumbed it down a bit so that,
Mortals like
because
us
some of
can
them,
understand.
yeah. So I ended up channeling that, and the energy that came through me for 3 hours of channeling was intense. And I would have to not do any channeling for a week, like not write any more of my book for a week. And so what they said was, you need to get this done in 2022, this book. And because in 2023, the world is going to be needing it. The world is going to start awakening. And it's kind of like the analogy I got was they wake up and they feel like they're in a totally different place, and they're wondering, where am I and what am I supposed to do? So apparently that's what I was told, was a whole bunch of people would be awakening, and they're going to be wanting help about what do they do with that. And so it was written towards healing our limiting beliefs, getting past that, empowering ourselves to connect to the divine, And then moving forward and hearing our spirit and hearing that it actually has desires for us and learning how to take action steps towards living our spirit's desires and then making that basically a daily habit. So really, because people, what she showed me is everyone is going to want to know what their purpose is. And I mean, sure enough, the purpose topic came up like nuts. Everyone is saying it. I want to know my purpose. Tell me my purpose. You know, it's a big thing. So they're preparing. Well, they were preparing me to create this so that people would be ready, would have it when they're ready.
Hmm. When this is written about the inner goddess within, right? So the book is only targeting the women.
No, the inner God is targeting any gender and any gender you identify with. So the book, what's happened with male and female is that we have forgotten to tap into our intuitive side, to tap into the divine creator, to realize that we are here to be creators. We're not here to repeat what we've learned. We're here to invoke that power inside of us, the divine creator, and to birth our greatest desires, to birth those things where we can make impact for others. And so the goddess within is that part that we've ignored. And that's men, women, it's everyone basically. So people have asked me that, and it's just amazing. It's awakening that sacral energy and the creative aspect of ourselves, and empowering ourselves to bring that energy up and to put it into action.
You know, I've heard others say in the spiritual world, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but that men are more good at getting material wealth, and women are probably not as good as that. Is that true?
No, because material wealth has to do with your your mind and what you believe. Because there's always a teacher ahead of you who can teach you how to have material wealth. Like if you, let's just say, if you wanted to be a millionaire, you're not going to learn from someone who makes 100,000 a year. You need to learn from someone who's making the $1 million so that you can then learn from them. It's the same with when you're in math, you learn 1 + 1 is 2 and so forth. And then you learn how to divide and multiply. You have to learn from a teacher who knows. So the key thing is that you learn from an expert who does do know this, but also the key thing is to feel that power within, that you can do this. And I think the key thing here is the concept of surrendering to the divine, to surrendering to knowing that the divine knows how to have this happen for you. That's the key thing, is that if you have your intention that you want to make a difference in the world, you want to impact 1 million people, let's just say. So if you have that intention, I want to impact 1 million people, I know that that's my spirit's calling. I don't know how to do that, but I trust the divine knows. I know that the divine knows. And all I need to do is pay attention and receive the guidance that comes my way. And when the guidance comes my way, I will take action. I will not be the one in control. I will surrender the control so that I can trust in that the divine is superior in intelligence. I mean, it can do master calculations in
True.
a multi-millisecond. So the key thing here is to let go. And I don't believe that women are less capable than men.
They keep saying like that because we have this big discussion that goes on in social media is who should pay the bill on the first date. Should we split it? Should the women pay it, or should the men do it? And then we've got people saying that if the man cannot pay for your meal, then what is he capable of doing? How can he take care of a family? What are your thoughts on that from a spiritual perspective?
So the thoughts are that what's happening is people are attaching themselves to others. for their own sense of happiness. So when we have, in my viewpoint, and I've learned this over time. This is not something I knew right away. I had to make my mistakes. But the best way to have a relationship is when you need nothing from them. So the idea is that your relationship is with God. That's your relationship. Your relationship is to experience the divinity that is flowing through everything, through everyone and everything. That all you can see is divinity in everyone and everything. And when you can experience that within yourself, what happens is you don't need anyone anymore. You don't need relationships. What happens instead is all you want to do is give to others. And so the creator in you awakens. And when you find an attraction with someone, you're in that state where you just feel like, I just want to, I want to give to the world. And I want to experience that giving with you. And together we can walk our paths. And that person would have to be in that same mindset. And you would at that point you could only attract that type of person anyway, because you just wouldn't be attracted to people who have that other mindset of needing, because you just wouldn't be able to relate to it. And so in that journey, what happens is the two of you are expansive flowers that are just expanding and opening up, and you're walking in parallel paths and just wanting to continually give. And you come back home and all you want to do is share the joy of your experiences. You're not, when someone is thinking, oh, like I just need that person to make the money and take care of things, what's happening is you're experiencing lack. So you want to experience abundance and of this divine truth flowing through you, because in that you don't worry so much about who makes what and how and all this kind of stuff. So the goal is to because the thing is that people have the attachment for someone else to make them happy. They may not realize it fully because they might logically fight like the ego. No, it makes sense that that person needs to take care of me. I'm going to bring up my child. There are children. You need to take care, and this is the way it has to be. And so that is a rigid thinking. And just consider being open that when you experience this divine flow coming through you, your mindset is different. You don't worry about that so much. Instead, you know that your partner will make the money that you need. You know that you'll come across money that you need. You know that flow will happen because you guys are not the ones in charge of the ship, basically.
Yeah. Osho says in his book that love and law, these are two different things. And we often try to confuse them together. So when you look at love, there's no laws. When you're in love with someone, you do. You don't say that you've got to pay the bill first or I've got to pay the bill first. No. And that is why he says that even in Hinduism, you see so much romance in the temples. You see Krishna and Radha, you see Shiva and Shakti. There's all this romance. And he says why that happens is because you can truly understand God when you look at God like your partner, when you're in love with God. Because when you're in love with God, you finally surrender. And when you surrender, you lose who you are and you allow that person inside or you allow God inside. So that is what love is. And you just want to just take it in. You're not thinking, okay, are you saying what's right for me? Do you have any hidden motives? So it's a beautiful way that Osho had spoken about it. If when I say Krishna and Radha or Shiva and Shakti, right? Do any visions come for you? Do they come through? Because are they even real? Did Krishna and Radha exist?
So certain ones have come through for me, and I'm developing a relationship with them.
Hmm.
Like Vishnu came through me to for someone else and gave this amazing teaching about healing from cancer. And it was profound. It was profound teaching. It was really amazing. And then another one came through, and I can't remember his name, the monkey,
Hanuman.
the that one.
That
So
I didn't know they were real. Hanuman came through.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hanuman came through. And it turns out that that woman also connects with Hanuman. So that was pretty cool. Um,
That's
and the
interesting.
thing is,
But when you say Hanuman, right? Did they actually connect with, like, is that human, or were they channeling like is that human?
the Hanuman,
Yeah.
it was he showed his face like this with a, that monkey face. So
Okay.
that's how he showed himself. And I said, I don't know who this is, but he's doing that face. And I said it's like half monkey, half man kind of thing. And
Okay.
so the thing that I was shown is this: is that because the question has arisen, do goddesses exist?
Hmm.
Do goddesses and gods exist? Basically,
Yeah.
lords and
Did all of these? So now I keep hearing Kuan Yin. I never knew about Kuan Yin before. So in the same way, I don't hear so many people channeling Krishna or Radha or Shiva, Shakti. Were they actual gods and goddesses, or were they just a sort of way to show them, like mm, just a way to show them that this is a concept? Maybe make it easier for people to understand.
Padma came,
Oh, okay.
Vishnu came, Shiva came. So they do exist. Now, how do they exist?
Hmm.
The key thing here is the intelligence. When I tapped into the divine intelligence,
Hmm.
what I was shown was that there are functions there are functions of spiritual beings in that realm that don't go into human form, that are here to assist others to basically know who you are. And they have specialties. So it's kind of like I mean, everything comes from light and a quality of light. And we know that light has quality. So a quality of light would be like, for instance, joy, or quality would be taking action, or quality would be being a healer, or specific qualities. And so the representative of these qualities are these particular lords and goddesses that you can, when you tap into that quality, they can represent themselves as an image. Because when we see an image, if neurolinguistic programming, when you place an image to a pain that you're feeling, or like it could be a physical pain or a thought pain, and you place an image and you imagine what this image is like, a texture, a size, a shape, and all that in your body. Then when you go do the healing thing, what happens is people can be miraculously healed. And so what they I think the reason why they represent themselves as an image is because we can relate better. They're really just light and a quality of energy. But like if we were to say, okay, I'm tapping into frequency 60,534 hertz, it doesn't mean anything. But if we can place a meaning, like a that's Vishnu, it's much easier. And the thing is, when we can see this image in our mind's eye, or imagine this image in our mind's eye, now we're immediately tapping into that frequency range. And that frequency is the pure quality of that teaching. So if you want to know the pure quality of how to experience the best joy in your life, go to Saint Germain. If you want the best quality of of being the assertive one and empowering yourself with the greatest power to live the kind of life of your dreams, go to Athena. I mean, she's going to be like, her energy is full force. You can step into that power, you can do it. And so she's being representative as that. So yes, these beings do exist. The images are given to us. I mean, in reality, everything is just light.
It makes sense. Something I notice is that when if I read something like Kuan Yin, for example, and then the next day when I'm trying to channel, I ask, okay, who is speaking? Then suddenly I would just write down Kuan Yin, for example, and then I would say, this is not possible. I just read about it yesterday, and that's why they're coming through. But was it them, or was it my imagination, or is it because they actually did they present the book in front of me so that I would get to know them?
Yeah. So it could be one of either way, really. The answer could be one of either way. However, when you start developing a relationship with these beings and you don't look them up further on the internet and you just discover things about them that you never knew and that you didn't read in that book, as an example, then later on you can look it up and you're going to be amazed at, wow, okay, so this was real. You also notice that there's a certain sensation with that particular energy of Kuan Yin, as an example. She comes across as very compassionate. She's the goddess of mercy and compassion. She's very loving. She's always there. She feels like the supporter for you. So all of these things I learned on my own, not by reading it up, but by experiencing it. And what I've noticed is that when people go through my book, as an example, there are these initiations. And so what happens is people's energy upgrades. So there's a higher frequency that happens, and it's actually shocking me as to how many people are more able to tap into their spirit and tapping into beings that are coming through. A common one is Horus has come through for many people who have read my book, yet Horus is not in my book. So I find that fascinating. So there's some kind of, they're being opened up to a particular frequency range that really connects with Horus. So it's kind of like, if you were to go receive Reiki and you have the attunement, and when you have the attunement, many times people start to, as they practice Reiki, they start to experience angels or ascended masters. So they've been attuned, their meridians have opened up more, which allows more pure light to come in, which makes it easier to have the antenna to tap into these higher frequency benevolent beings. And so that's kind of what's happening. And these team came through because they want to help people with their purpose and with overcoming mindset, with experiencing love, tuning into the love within, and so forth.
Makes sense. When I did the first initiation, that was in a book by Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, for some reason I felt sick after that. Do you think it's because, your vibration raises and something? Is it related to the initiations by any chance? Because I had this cold and I had throat and, all that for a couple of weeks and no one else was sick in the house.
Yeah, it can happen actually. It does happen too when people take Reiki, that they can get sick afterwards. So anything that involves a lot of exposure to a higher frequency energy,
Mm-hmm.
it can happen.
Maybe we are clearing off all the garbage that's there in the system. Maybe it's some
Yeah,
form of cleansing.
it is. What happens is, so you have a bunch of heavy metals, you have pesticides and all that kind of stuff that you breathe in the air, and that ends up in your tissues. It's lodged in your tissues and your muscles. And when you bring in, either when you eat food that detoxes you, then they'll slowly get dislodged, or when you bring in a very high frequency energy into your being, what happens as well is that they start to get dislodged. And if you're not drinking lots of water, flushing it out, you could get headaches, sickness, nausea, all those, and literally a cold.
Makes sense. So you channel the ascended masters. Do you channel God too?
I have channeled, yeah, I have channeled the divine, just that when I just feel like it's just the consciousness of the divine, it's happened. Often that's what happens when I'm just on my own, just connecting, receiving information for myself.
So I wanted to ask a couple of questions to probably God. Do you think if I ask God to come through, would God come through?
I would say so because God is pretty general, so all encompassing.
Okay. So what's the process like? Do I just ask questions and God will speak to me? I have a question. Will God even speak to me? Like, do I have to raise my frequency to a certain level or I'm okay?
God can always speak to you no matter what frequency level you're at. Now, in terms of you understanding the divine truth, it's kind of like The analogy I'm given is when you when a child, a 3-year-old, you want to teach it that, oh, if you touch the stove, you're going to burn yourself. You just give them basic, no, you touch hot. No, stay away. No, touch hot, right? And so depending on our mindset, we will be given very basic information that we can understand, because we can give advanced information. I've talked advanced stuff before and people don't understand because they're fighting with the part of themselves that sees reality as a certain way, and it's hard to see past that.
Their ego gets in the way.
Yeah.
So what's the process like when you start channeling? Is Genevieve there, or Genevieve leaves the room?
So I'm here. I'm fully conscious. I can open my eyes, I can look, be present. But what I try to do is try to stand out of the way so that I can receive this energy and interpret the energy well, so that I can just say how I'm interpreting this energy. So I try to get out of the way and just experience what's coming through me.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
All
usually
right.
close my eyes. So I will close my eyes. Sometimes I open them.
All right. So, do you have to go into meditative state, or can I just start asking? Do I ask right away?
Let me just go into a quick state,
All
and then
right.
I'll just say, welcome or whatever. That's just an indication that I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And I usually hold something too. So I'm going to hold, um,
Tourmaline. No, is it?
no, it's black. What's it called?
Obsidian.
Obsidian.
Okay.
It's God's very high frequency. On to ground.
Okay.
All right. Okay, you can ask. I'll be ready.
God, what does fundamental religion do to our consciousness?
Divine One. Fundamental religion is the word fundamental, is the key understanding that one can be rigid, that one can understand a specific way of being. And so one gets caught up in rules and understands that when they have rules, then it gives them a sense of belonging. It gives them a sense of understanding things, because people have forgotten that they can surrender to the divine experiment to receive divine knowledge and let go of the clinging on to that which they think is real. And so, fundamental religion, any type of religion, is a means to be able to have some type of rules in their being. In their being, because it is in the physical being. You see, a consciousness exists in the physical being, where you are run by your body, you are run by the avenues that are existing in your body. To explain this further, when you are afraid of something, your body responds. When you are thinking something, your body responds. And so your body needs that safety mechanism to be able to feel safe in everything that it does. And so if the intellect can understand some rigid rules, then this is what gives people a sense of inner peace. But it is an illusory peace, because it is not divine peace. It is something where rules will give them contentment. And so they continue along these rules and feel complete. And yet they do not know that they're not complete. They are not experiencing wholeness, for wholeness exists beyond religion.
Thank you, God. Why were lies spread to keep humanity in darkness?
So the illusion lies that it is to keep humanity in darkness. The truth is that humanity is in darkness. Not all of humanity, but some of humanity. And so, as consciousness raises and truth is told and people experience truth, then consciousness changes. And so a lightness occurs. And that lightness may still be darkness in my eyes, because the lightness is forever a journey where the deeper you go, the deeper you experience even greater truths. And so, what you know, for example, as science to be real is completely useless in terms of what science really is. But if we were to bring in science in a higher scientific way, humanity would not understand it. They would not be able to comprehend it. And the way they could comprehend it is by tapping into the divine intellect rather than using the limited mind that exists in their brain, because the brain itself cannot handle such intellect.
God, what choices does humanity have to make that shift and to raise their consciousness?
The choice is responsibility. The choice is the desire to tap into who you truly are, the desire to realize that you are pure. But humanity is afraid to realize that they are pure. They want safety. Their body is responding for the need for safety. And so they must heal that aspect of themselves, what the body is carrying. The body is telling them lies, and so they must change the imprint that is existing in their cellular structure so that they can tell the cells no more. I do not believe you anymore. I'm not willing. And so one must walk their lives being the observer of what is going on there in their body, but not actually truly believing what is happening in their bodies. The only time that one should be afraid is when one is confronted with something that will actually cause them physical harm. And so the goal here is to shift your mindset. And in order to shift your mindset, you must be responsible. You must decide that I'm taking responsibility from my mind. Everyone must decide that they take responsibility to be connected one with me, to realize that we are all this love, this divine presence, this holy union. And when we can know this, then all is well in an instant.
God, how can I forgive myself?
By realizing that there is nothing to forgive, by realizing that you are whole and complete, by knowing that you are divine, by knowing that you are holy. There is nothing to forgive because that thing that you think you should forgive does not really exist. That is an illusion. And so the true self here is to understand that you are love and holy. And when you experience your love and holiness, all you do is experience love for yourself. And you forget that there even was this thought of having to forgive anything.
God, how can I get over jealousy and greed?
Jealousy, of course, is an illusion. It is something where you're needing to gain something from someone else. And so jealousy is a low vibration concept where one is entangled with someone and realizing that their own self worth is dependent on the other being. And so jealousy is hard to overcome. But when you do, great things can happen for you. And so the goal here is to step back and go within. The moment you become jealous of someone else, ask yourself what it is that you are frightened of. And when you answer this question, do not position it about the other person. Position it towards yourself. What is it that you're afraid of? Are you afraid of experiencing lack in your life? Are you afraid of feeling not loved? Are you afraid of being weakened by someone else? What is it that you can attune yourself to? What is it that you can fill yourself up with? When you can know that you are one in this pool of love, then jealousy does not exist anymore because you are not afraid of the actions of others anymore, because you are not lack. Your cup is full. And so when your cup is full, it's impossible for you to be afraid.
God, why won't you be able to stop all the wars?
Because we are all connected. I am not separate from you. We are all one. And so you are individualized aspects of me. You choose what steps you take here on earth. You came to earth to be a creator, to be a mini creator. You came to earth to experience glory. Or in some cases, you came to earth to experience lack. But your choice is yours to shift from lack to glory. And so it is up to you as to what you want to experience, because you are me and I am you. And it is entirely up to you. The religions have created this dynamic thinking that I am more powerful, I am more mighty than you, but you are me. And so it is your choice because you are the creator. You have choice. You are not a victim in your circumstances. You choose to live the way you do. And so this is again aiming at responsibility. How can you be responsible to make your life joyous amidst all the pain that occurs out in the world? How can you see beauty? How can you see beauty in others amidst their pain? By having compassion for others and understanding that they are only experiencing fear and that's why they behave the way they do. So why not have the choice to experience bliss inside of you, to know that you are the divine creator, that you can create miracles on earth and you can create miracles for others?
God, is it our purpose to become more like God? And what does that mean? Am I not like God? What makes me different or us
Our,
different?
pur- our purpose is to be who you are, to be that which you already are, to have the remembrance that you are this, to invoke the power of this that you are, to realize that you are one with me, to know this and to utilize this power that you are. When you drive a Porsche, are you going to be driving it like you're driving a car that is nearly broken? No, you know the power that exists in it. You put on your you step your foot on the pedal, ready to race it because you know it has power. You know you're not going to cause harm to the vehicle. And so, in the same way, when you know that you are one with me, you press the pedal and you go for it. You experience the great glory that there is. You invoke the power that there is and you live your calling. You do those things that matter to you. You do those things that bring great joy because great joy is what the Creator is. You are one with the quality of the Creator. You realize that only goodness exists. And so you glorify the existence of goodness and you spread it out into the world.
God, before the Big Bang, where were you?
I am and are you. And so before the Big Bang, we just were. It is hard for a concept to be understood in the human world, but this is what we were. We just were. And so in that just being, you just are. And so before that experience, we lived in this isness together.
Hmm. Would we go back to that same state? Is that what all of us are trying to do?
We're not trying to go back to this state. We are experiencing the power of this glory that we are. We are creating because our heightened senses is that we are creators. I am a creator and I created you, and you are a creator and you create others, and you make your own creations in the world. And so we are here to create and continue creation. You may return to source if you so wish. When you feel like it is time to expire, you can do so. But the goal is that you will then return again and experience more creations. It is like a yin and not a yin and a yang, like a in breath and an out breath that is occurring. You breathe in and you breathe out. And so when you breathe in, you can return. And when you breathe out, you expand. And so you are a forever breathing being. It is not like you just return and that is it. You breathe.
God, how can I hear your thoughts, or how can I communicate or connect with you better?
By letting go of the belief that you can't and knowing that you can. Stepping into the knowing that the power that comes through you is me. And when you can know this, then you are always in tune with me.
God, do you have a final message to anyone who is watching, who's going to watch this episode?
Know that you are loved. Know that you are always with me. Know that you do not need to do anything to get yourself the pleasure of my presence. Know that you are the pleasure of its presence, that you are this greatness. Let go of the illusion that you are not. Let go of the need to glorify something greater than yourself. Know that you are with me always.
Thank you so much, God. And I love you so much.
Oh, thank you. That was sweet.
That was so beautiful. You know what? I actually felt something here. I don't know what that is, but I felt like a pressure over here, like the energy, right? And
Yeah.
God did feel like a man, right? Like there was so much power. How did it
There
feel
was
for
power,
you?
yeah. There was definitely power. I could see what you mean by that.
How
Yeah.
is it for you? What did you feel like?
I feel it's funny, I feel close to normal, thank God. Um, I felt quite grounded, which was great because I find sometimes I'm not so grounded and I'm getting a little lightheaded and all that. Um, but I felt what I noticed was the answers were very short,
Yeah.
most of them.
Yeah.
They were brief and to the point,
Yeah.
which was actually I found that fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jesus, right? Yeshua says that the reason why, like, why he wants to connect with us, or why it is like I keep like when I'm trying to do this automatic writing, like I ask Yeshua, "Are you God?" I keep asking this, right? Because in Christianity it's there, and he said something that you know, God can relate, God can understand us, but it is going to be easier for me to relate to Yeshua because he had taken a human form than for me to relate to God. So, because God doesn't seem that there is any lack in us, He doesn't see that we lack anything. So He just says, he or she says things as it is. But Yeshua knows that we think we feel we are unworthy. So He, talks about it. He takes his own time. He says hi, hello, and all of those things. So it felt, oh my God, it felt amazing. It was
It was
beautiful.
interesting. Someone asked me that question one time. I channeled the answer for that as well. And Jesus said, yes, he is. He is God. He didn't go further. But what I felt was that the person didn't ask, are we all God? So if you ask me, am I God? I'm going to say, yes, I am. But that didn't take away also from the realization that if you turn to him, you do experience God. You can experience that because he's that pure Christ consciousness. And it's quite amazing when you have a relationship. And I'm not religious, right? But I've experienced this with Jesus. I've actually developed a close relationship with Jesus because when you experience that, you experience your own Christ consciousness because that's his focus is that he was and religions know that he was a very high prophet, right? And others say he was God. But either way, they know that he was strongly connected in a very powerful way.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it says that 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 is God, and no, so we are not God because we would never, because God would have never forgotten who God is. So that's the only difference. Meaning, right now we have forgotten who we are, but God is pure source, and God is very aware of God's source being. Yeah, that was just beautiful. One, because you had in your book also, you speak about that time where you wanted to get into all of this full fledged, but then you were afraid because I had bills to pay. A part of me loved the job, which confused me even more. Why would I want to leave this job? So these were the questions which you had mentioned and asked for yourself in the book. And how did you get over that? Like, how did you, because I'm at that state where I'm like, I'm asking the same questions, but when did you gather the courage to go on? And you said that it was at 30s you started having these doubts, and then it was when you were 50 that you finally made the choice. Do you wish you had done it earlier, or what was that like?
I do. I totally wish. I feel like I wasted my years. That's what I feel like, and it
Okay.
feels sad in that sense. But having worked in that working world, I was a very shy person. I had to learn how to be comfortable speaking in front of 200 people. And now I can speak in front of thousands. It doesn't matter to me. But I wouldn't have been able to do that had I started back then. And what I'm being shown is I'm supposed to impact millions. So eventually I will be in front of thousands of people, and I've been prepared for it. So I have to kind of look at it that way. Um, but what made me change, what made me decide to make this change was because I kept thinking, I'm waiting for the right time, waiting till I gather enough savings, then I can quit my job and so forth for years because I was told I was supposed to quit when I was 30. And what happened was that I had a breakdown, and the breakdown caused me to just not care anymore. Like after I recovered from the big breakdown, I decided not to care anymore about those worries because I didn't want to have another breakdown. It was kind of like the desire was so strong never to have a breakdown again that I didn't care anymore about quitting my job, selling my house, living off the savings, doing whatever it took. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care. Like, I didn't even care if I end up on the streets because I knew at that moment I had completely surrendered to God. And I knew that God would show me because I was being asked to do it. So if I'm being asked to do it, God's going to show me how I can feed myself and have shelter and all that kind of stuff and be okay. So that it was a hard lesson to learn, and it was unfortunate. I don't wish that upon anyone to have a breakdown. It's awful, you know, but that was a great gift. What happened for me is I'm not afraid anymore. I don't care anymore. It's just not it's very it's would be very difficult for me to be afraid now.
You look like a very strong person. So when you say you had a breakdown, it's like, was it triggered by the job, or moments before or days before the breakdown, you probably did you pray God, I help give me something so I can just quit my job? Do you remember anything like that that happened before that?
I remember what happened was so was I was going to get my 20-year thing with the company. I was actually there for 21 years. So I was going to get it, and I remember thinking at age 50, if I haven't gotten anywhere with this company, if we haven't gotten to a certain point, I'm going to quit. And I turned 50 and I was going to get the certificate, and 2 days later the breakdown happens. And so the breakdown happened because my husband, he was having PTSD, and he kept like saying stupid things like oh, but I didn't mean that, like when you say this, I'm not thinking this towards you, and I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking that you're thinking that. I totally love you. I don't. So I had to explain this so many times to him, and my love is always to to help people to live their best life. And so what happened is I got attached to his pain, and I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't. I felt like I was responsible for to keep telling him, look, like I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking that when I'm asking you a question about the coffee cup here or there, I'm not thinking that you're thinking bad thoughts towards me. I'm not thinking that. So that was I learned a lot about PTSD actually through him. And so that feeling ended up making me break. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take continually explaining to him that I'm not thinking that. And I was in so much pain that he was in pain that I broke. I woke up hyperventilating, and it was just too much for me to take on that responsibility. So I was playing the mother role basically. And so I had to let go of that, relearn all of that, and not be the mother, and you do you, I do me, and kind of reestablish our relationship. But what happened for him though was he was able to see, oh my goodness, I can't I can't keep living my story because look what happened to Genevieve. So he felt sick that I had a that I had a break. I didn't blame him for it. Obviously, it was my own mindset that allowed that to happen. But I learned a lot of things through this process. I understood mindset. I understood limiting thoughts and what it means to be depressed and suicidal and all this kind of stuff. I didn't understand any of that because I never had that in my life. And it was helpful for me to learn that, unfortunately.
Wouldn't like when someone's an empath, right? They would be able to tap into other people, right? So is that a possibility for you? Like if your husband is feeling that way, you tap into your husband and then you feel what he's feeling.
Yes,
That is
all the time.
possible.
And
Oh.
he's an empath too. So he would feel my feeling about his feeling. And it was just, and then he would be confused because, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you don't even, if you don't even realize you're an empath, it can be very confusing.
No, that is true, because I'm always thinking about having a very simple spiritual life. I don't want any attachments to materialistic things and all that. And then I have an influencer sister who is like, she's into all these makeup and all that. She's like top influencer in Dubai. When she comes into the house and she goes back, when I'm into meditation, I'm dreaming about $1 million mansions. And I'm like, hey, why am I getting I'm like, why am I, so I'm like, $1 million mansion. And then the next day I'm back into the cottage. I'm like, what was that? So that does happen to me too. So once you transition, right, from work and you got into this, how is it for you with financially? Like, how was that transition? Was it easy for you to do it? Or because I read that you had around 1,000 people reporting to you directly and indirectly, and you were at a well-paying job. So how did you transition to it, and how did finances take care of itself?
Yeah. So I had past experience of teaching Reiki, and I had some previous clients and so forth, and I told them that I'm going to be creating this new program, and I did get business from that, some business, and but then what I also ended up doing was I learned all about marketing, all about building a business and all that from another company who teaches people how to do that. And when I did that, I also was learning coaching on the side. And what happened was they ended up hiring me as a coach, which was,
Oh,
yeah. So it helped me to build my business while I was doing that, and it was great because I didn't have to work much in order to make money. Because as a coach, you can actually do fairly well. And I had sold my house, so I was living off the savings of my house that I had for almost 20 years. So that helped, and I didn't care if the money was going to go down. But the key thing here was to learn from other experts. So I learned about marketing, I learned about all of that, and I had to get comfortable with it because people don't like doing marketing, they don't like doing sales, and it's not something. When you first start a business, you kind of have to do everything,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
All the administrative thing, all that. You have to do everything until you get to a point where you can hire people. And so the good thing about my personality is I do love doing all kinds of things. That's why I was good at my job with overseeing so many different departments. It was a bit of a natural thing for me, but I do recommend for some people, not everyone has that love for learning everything and doing everything. So I would recommend that some people do invest in getting help, for someone to build their website, for someone to, teach them some things about marketing so that they don't have to feel overwhelmed and do it all on their own. Kind of assess who they think they are and their capabilities.
Hmm. That makes sense. One of the things that I have in my mind when I see channelers and healers, um, or when I think about that too, when I see channelers and healers charging money, I feel like maybe there's something wrong there. Why do I feel that way? Like, would so I keep asking. I mean, there must be something wrong with the way I'm thinking, where I feel like, okay, if you're doing healing, if you're doing channeling, you should always do it for free. Why do I think that way? I know that is not right.
Yeah, I think that because people think that doing God's work shouldn't cost money. But what they don't realize that is that being a janitor is doing God's work too. Everything that we do is God's work. But people have an association that if we do something spiritual, then that's God's work. But everything is spiritual. Everything. So if we can realize that, I mean, if we were in a world where we didn't need money to survive, then we wouldn't be charging money. No one would be. We would just be giving and helping each other out. And we could potentially get to that point if we wanted to, but right now we created this money system.
I love that answer. So we just, I mean, I love that even janitors' work is spiritual. Why did I not think like that? That is beautiful. That makes sense. Yeah. You know, Genevieve, it was such a pleasure speaking to you. And like you look like a very strong person, but then after speaking to understand the soft person within there, you look like a powerful, strong, and all that. But you're such a sweetheart. It was such a
Oh,
pleasure
thank you.
speaking to you. Can you tell
Yeah,
us more about your work and where we can find you, Genevieve?
thank you so much. You're so sweet. Yeah, my work, well, obviously, I wrote that book and I help others to awaken to their spirit so they can discover their purpose, so they can move in that direction and live their purpose. And you can find me at liveatransformativelife.com or genevievetaeger.com.
And do you have any final message for us?
I would say trust that you have this huge desire in you, and that desire is your spirit talking to you. And to encourage yourself not to follow those limiting beliefs and surrender to the divine guiding you the way. And you'll be surprised at the miracles that can happen for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Genevieve. You have been the best, and I'm so excited we had you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.